Abron. She is CEO, President, and founder of Peer Consultants. She is a trailblazer, a history maker, and an entrepreneur. She is the first African-American woman in the nation to earn a PhD in chemical engineering, the first African-American to start an engineering consulting firm focused on environment and environmental issues. Dr. Abron is a National Academy of Engineering member, NAE member. She is president-elect of the American Academy of Environmental Engineering and Scientists, AAES, and she is an AEESP Legacy member.
Good morning, Dr. Naughton. Thank you very much for that very kind and grandiose introduction. Thank you all for meeting us here today for the 6th of the 6 sessions. And this one is on COVID-19, climate change mitigation and adaptation. Our panelists today will be presenting cogent ideas and perspectives on climate change and mitigation in a world where honestly, we are beyond being able to mitigate climate change. The earth is getting hotter and humans on this planet are largely to blame. We should not abandon the strategies that will help curb climate change, such as energy efficiency, advancing alternative energy sources, advancing climate intervention strategies, and reducing greenhouse gases, as described in the report that this workshop is based on. But we should also begin to think strategically about mass migrations to the U.S. interiors because of climate change, using system thinking approaches to identify potential outcomes and solutions in real time. I think mass migrations to the interior of the U.S. have already begun. And while initially they were not climate change driven, climate change is now becoming the major driver. These migrations must be anticipated, understood, and planned for. I am the product of the outcome of already 2 mass migrations. One, not desired, but it happened, and that is the forced migration of the Africans from the African continent, starting in the early 1600s and before. This mass migration resulted in a fourth of the population of the African continent being transported all over the world. The unintended consequences of that migration are still being resolved to this day. The second mass migration, termed the Great Migration, was the self-imposed relocation of more than 6 million African Americans from the rural South to the U.S. cities of the North, Midwest, and West from about 1916 to 1979. The unintended consequences of that migration are major reasons for the continuing civil and political upheaval in the U.S. today. President Obama, in a 2016 presidential memorandum, Climate Change and National Security, pointed out that the relationship between climate change and migration with unintended consequences of political and civil instability. He directed federal agencies to perform certain functions to ensure that climate change-related impacts are fully considered in the development of national security doctrine, plans, and policies. By breaking climate change down into its component geophysical symptoms, the memo makes a strong case for treating it as a threat multiplier, with the potential to push vulnerable states past the tipping point into chaos. Extended drought, more frequent and severe weather events, heat waves, warming and acidifying ocean waters, catastrophic wildfires, and rising sea levels all have compounding effects on people's health and well-being. Flooding and water scarcity can negatively affect food and energy production. Energy infrastructure, essential for supporting other key sectors, is already vulnerable to extreme weather and may be further compromised. Other concerns are transportation disruptions, pest outbreaks, the spread of invasive species, and disease. All of these can lead to population migration within and across borders, spur crises, and amplify or accelerate conflict in countries or regions already facing instability and fragility. The mass migration in the U.S. to its north, south, east, and west close by interiors has begun, and it is incumbent upon environmental engineers to put themselves clearly on the forefront of developing and implementing strategies to adapt to climate change in place and to work collaboratively in multidisciplinary teams, utilizing system thinking approaches to provide solutions to responding to a changing planet caused by a changing climate.